win all the time. No pass rush. Quarterback just sits there and pats the ball. The wide receiver runs his route exactly how he wants to run. There's no pressure involved on the quarterback side. We used to get beat like this all the time as a defensive back. I don't care who you are. In one-on-ones, it's set up for the wide receivers to win, and that's totally unfair.
Yeah, one-on-ones, like in the NFL, when Norman's on Odell Beckham, it's set up for the wide receiver to win.
No, that's totally different.
Burnt him all day.
Yeah, but
dropped a couple passes, but
thank you.
Okay,
that doesn't mean.
Okay,
when you
but it's not because Norman was in the. Where was Norman?
That's not getting burned when he dropped the pass.
Where was Norman?
Doesn't matter. Did he drop the ball?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying to you. With pressure, it's a totally different game. And we saw Josh Norman. Listen, am I saying Josh Norman is the elite of the elite, like Richard Sherman? No.
That's what we want to know. Is he worth this money?
I think he's worth the money. If someone's willing to pay it, yes, you are worth the money.
But you're
Simple
saying
as that.
He's not elite.
No,
like
no. But if you were a GM and you had to price talent, is he worth being the highest paid corner in the NFL?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But if I am a team like the Washington Redskins and I feel like I need a corner, listen, cornerbacks are just like quarterbacks, are just like left tackles. They don't walk around and they don't grow on trees. Right. You have to find a guy that can willingly go 50-50 on the outside and match up with Dez Bryant, Odell Beckham, whoever it is.
They still got to find that guy.
And that's, well, I feel like the Washington Redskins make that decision that said they saw what he did against Odell Beckham, which he played okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but they saw what he did with Dez Bryant, and he shut Dez out for 4 quarters. So that's what you want, and that's what a lot of teams do. They see a guy in a different division or a different conference, and they say, this is how he matched up with certain guys. We want him on this team, and is he worth the $15 million? Yes, he's worth the $15 million to the Washington Redskins.
I don't like this.
Why?
I actually agree with Darren. He's not wrong. Here's the deal, Max. First of all, Josh Norman can play. That's number one. Secondly, Odell Beckham Jr., there's no shame in losing to him. This brother's on another level. We understand he dropped one pass. We understand that there was a couple of times he got open. We understand that he lost his head a little bit, and had that not been the case, it would have been one of those situations where essentially what it would have come down to is that Odell Beckham Jr. may have ended up getting the better of Josh Norman even more so than he actually did. I get all of that. But here's the bottom line. When you look at it, pay attention to what's transpiring. You got Joe Barry and his zone schemes. You've got the fact that Josh Norman is a system player. Now, if you hired him to be a shutdown corner a la Deion Sanders, of course there's a problem. Where I agree with Darren, where we're being unfair to Josh Norman, even though Josh Norman is capable of covering, the reality is that when you looked at Carolina's defense, there was some zone going on. He was assisted. You had the crew, Kuechly and Thomas and the boys. You know, he wasn't alone. In Washington, they gave him that money not just because of his talent, his name, his cachet, and the fact that they needed to buffer their secondary, but also because they knew that they're going to be playing zone schemes. They're going to be employing that. So what you did was grab a guy that you knew you would need, because Breland being back there by himself, or with an aging D'Angelo Hall who could still play, you needed some assistance. You needed a name. You drafted some kid in the 3rd round to play corner, where you were ultimately able to get rid of Culliver and unload him. So they buffered their secondary, because that's a problem. Then you look at Kerrigan and the crew, and you look at this rookie, Preston Smith, who led all rookies with 8 sacks last year. If you're capable of getting to the passer more and you're playing zone, then obviously, like Darren is alluding to, you're going to have a limited amount of time to get at the quarterback. Therefore, you got Josh Norman, who's going to look even better because of that, not to mention the fact that he's going to have help. It's not some kind of matchup with him against Odell Beckham Jr., because if we're being real about it, is there anybody that you know of in the NFL? I don't care whether it's Patrick Patterson, that is a bad boy, whether it's Richard Sherman, or my man Joe Hayden in Cleveland, who don't get enough love, but he gonna get it here because Joe Hayden's a bad boy. Okay, so let's be real. Can anyone up here definitively, you know your football too, Molly, can anybody sit here right now and say that anybody in the NFL can guard Odell Beckham Jr. by himself?
No.
One-on-one?
No.
Well, then what's the problem?
Here's the problem. Well, first of all, let me start by saying Josh Norman's a good player. I thought he was a crazy great player, like top 3 defensive player for a while, and then I saw certain things that had me back off that and say, no, this is a zone corner. And don't forget, Washington's the kind of place like Champ Bailey, when they traded Clinton Portis when running backs still had a lot of value, and Portis was like, I mean, like he was just a flash. You couldn't even see. They traded Portis in his prime for Champ Bailey. They value shut-down corners at a point when Champ Bailey was the best corner in the game. That's not what they're getting here. They're not getting a shut-down corner here. Now, I'll even give him some credit as even not to try and just win the argument, that he's more mature than Odell. And the fact that Odell had never dropped a pass where he was targeted and just drops the pass in his career, and he dropped 2 that day, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that Norman applied enough psychological, at least, pressure to Odell that it rattled him. Yeah. And you even hear Odell's comments since then. Odell's still fixated on this dude, and Norman's like, yo, why are you still talking about me? And Odell's the much more famous player and considered even better at his position. I'm not going to argue that. And I also understand if you're going to run zone and different things, he's a very useful player, Josh Norman. I get that. This is my issue. The NFL is a hard cap league. In a hard cap league, the job of a GM before anything else is to properly price commodities. In this case, players. You better be able to put the prices right. You better be able to price that properly, because every dollar you overpay for one guy is a dollar you can't pay for another guy. Now I ask you this. Is Josh Norman worth a $50 million guarantee?
Go ahead, Darren.
Hey, you know what? If the Washington Redskins are willing to pay what they paid him, whatever it is. But listen,
I'm not saying that's not his market value. I'm saying should they have?
I think they
did they properly price him?
Come on. I do. I absolutely do. Now listen, I haven't always been a Josh Norman fan. Have not. And it took me until last year to watch from week 6 on to see what kind of player he is. This is what you're getting in Josh Norman. Are you getting a shutdown, follow you around corner? No, you're not getting Patrick Peterson. You're not getting Richard Sherman or maybe Darrelle Revis, but what you are getting is a guy with tremendous confidence, a guy that you feed off of. I've played with players that were half as talented as Josh Norman, but they had tremendous confidence, and you feed off of it as a unit. And I thought when you watch Carolina play, Josh Norman was in a huddle, and he saw whoever broke the huddle, Larry Fitzgerald went that way, there went Josh Norman. He's in your face. That's what you want to see in your player. A smart football player that's greedy and wants it.
Here's the deal, y'all. Look at this list here, these dollars. Josh Norman's at number 1, $50 million guaranteed. Patrick Peterson's number 2, $48 million.
I get that.
Joe Hayden, $45 million, number 3. Richard Sherman, $40 million, number 4. Darrelle Revis, number 5, at $39 million. Janoris Jenkins, number 6, $28.8 million. You can make a legitimate argument that there are about 4 corners in the NFL that may be better than Josh Norman.
Absolutely.
Straight up. Yep. That's no disrespect to Josh Norman, all right? But let me also take into account, not only are you paying for production, but you also pay for potential, which is something that we try to gloss over, but that's a reality. Josh Norman is 28. Josh Norman is not only 28, but this dude was from some nondescript school in Carolina, Coastal Carolina, if I remember correctly, okay? Worked his way up, worked his way through the practice squad and beyond. He didn't even want to leave Carolina. He just wanted what he thought his worth was, and he wanted them to break the bank for him. Fair enough. What I'm saying to you is that when you are 28 years of age and you went through the terrain that he went through, wasn't the first round pick, wasn't the 7th round pick, okay? He went, and you work your way onto a National Football League team and get to a point where you establish yourself from being some nondescript dude on a practice squad to being one of the elite corners in the game, because just because you might not be top 4 don't make you elite.
That's right.
When you combine that with the fact that the need for the team that you went to is similar to the system you played in Carolina. You combine that with the fact that you went from Carolina in the NFC South to the NFC East, where only one team was over 500 and everybody else stuck up the joint and wet the bed. I'm sorry. That justifies the dollars.
Well,
that justifies
I'm
the
happy
dollars.
he got his money.
I know that. But I'm saying
glad
it justifies
he got paid.
I'm saying it justifies it if you're the Redskins.
Look, I get it. Also, he's the next man up, and this is how it works. Whoever the latest really good player is resets the market.
That's right.
That's generally how it works. I just think if you're going to guarantee the most dollars in the NFL at the position to a corner, that guy should be a shutdown corner. There aren't that many of them, I get it, but I don't think that's Norman.
Well, I'm saying you don't think that's Norman, but my problem is this. Let's look at the Redskins. Let's look at the fact that they're 9-7. Let's look at the fact that they franchise tagged their quarterback at $19.9 million. Let's look at the fact that they were the lone team over 500, that they've been a playoff, that they are a playoff team. Now, they haven't made back-to-back playoff spots since 96, 97, okay? And they haven't, and Lord knows,
they ain't going to do it this time either.
Well, they may not, but we don't know that. We don't know that. Questions about the Giants' defense, no matter how much money they spent. Questions about the Eagles all over. Question about the health and the psyche of your Dallas Cowboys. But they're not knuckleheads, but their actions are indicative of knuckleheadedness. Okay? So you got all of that going on. It's just the truth, Darren. It's just the truth. So I'm just saying, if you look at Washington, you go out, you get Norman. You draft another corner in the third round. You still got Breland, who is elevating, okay? You still got D'Angelo Hall, who is experienced. You got the Ryan Kerrigan. You got a rookie that's got 8 sacks on his docket, backing up Kerrigan. You've got a team with a potential pass rush. Now, they give up on too many yards rushing on the first time. That was their impediment on defense, believe it or not. It wasn't their passing defense. It was the fact that they gave up over 5 yards or a rush on first downs. So you take all of that in consideration. If you're in the process of cleaning this up, which Josh Norman's presence will help assist in that matter, then I think it's a good deal.
If the point is that they are at a moment of like extreme leverage for a player where the right guy can put them over the top, a tipping point, right?
Absolutely.
Like Gladwell can tip them in the right direction, and Norman is that guy, then maybe you can justify the $50 million.
And I'm saying to you, Max,
you better get it done now.
But here's what I'm saying to you, Max. Maybe, just maybe, what you're not saying is what you need to say. The Giants stunk up the joint. The Dallas Cowboys stunk up the joint. Maybe what you're really saying is that the Redskins were somewhat fraudulent because the other teams, including your Giants, to some degree my Giants, were relatively weak, and certainly your Cowboys. Oh, please.
I was surrounded by Giants. I didn't know that.
Please. No, I'm a Steelers guy. I'm a New Yorker, but I'm a Steelers guy.
From way back.
Come on, man.
I love my Steelers.
You need to stop.
Big Blue. Who said that? That's not.
The division is up for grabs again, as it always is. All right, you're going to get to
see.
That's right.
You're going to get to see Beckham versus Norman September 25th at MetLife. That one, week 3. Darren, thank you for being here.
By the way,
it's always good to see you.
There's 2 moments in my life as a football fan that are sickest. Number 1 on the list is when Tim Tebow threw that pass to Demarius Thomas against the Steelers in the playoffs. The other is when Neil O'Donnell threw that interception.
Go ahead,
and
give
the
it
Dallas
to
Cowboys beat the
That's
Steelers
third
in the
ring.
Super Bowl. Oh, please.
I'll let you wear it.
I never heard of Larry Johnson before or after.
But
that day, Larry Brown. I'm sorry, Larry Johnson. Larry Brown.
Molly and I have some pretty good memories of recent Giants Super Bowls, too. I can't think of them offhand, but
just a couple.
Remember them undoing the greatest team of all time.
I remember
doing it
the
again.
Giants as well. I remember those days.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Man, it's time for you to go.
Let's leave it there. Thank you, Darren. You didn't think we could get through this whole show without addressing Draymond Green. Well, he found himself in another compromising situation over the weekend, sending out an inappropriate Snapchat picture. We will react to that and how it could affect his future when we come back.